Welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the west loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. That's CHGO White Sox beat writer Vinnie Duber. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber and read his work at ALLCITY.com. The man in the middle, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him at EctorWall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader and, arguably the MVP of last night's softball championship win. So congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate you giving me those plaudits, but I am nowhere near the MVP of that game. It was more like Beth Fisher or my guy Ben Warner or Joyce Bathis.
I'm pretty sure you had 3 RBIs.
I only have 1. But
okay.
And I went 2
for 3,
mind. And I struck out last night, like I struck out in the championship game last year. I think it's just a precursor, something you got to do. Strike out in the game and 16-inch slow-pitch softball, embarrass yourself to hell, so the next 2 or 3 bats can be successful, and that's what I did. I'm only thing I do is sacrifice for the team. I show embarrassment on a level on the internet, and then I eventually come through.
Yes, he's a company man.
He's what?
Company man.
Company man. That's Sarah, our producer.
Hi.
And Herb, you're not our click to pick, so sorry about that. But hey, you at least got 2 rings on that finger, so show it off proudly.
I would love to have a ring. That'd be great. And we got 2 game balls, though, and our name's going to be etched on this trophy you see in front of you because... Again, man, it's just tough to go through the year and lose to the Odyssey people during the regular season. They're talking a lot of noise. Then when you grab them in the championship and you beat them, very satisfying.
You know what they say, Herb? You're not elite until you repeat.
Oh, very nice. And hey,
it don't mean a thing without that ring.
Maybe no ring, but you did get the sweet jersey from Charlie the Bacon Guy. So
there you go. Charlie the Bacon Guy. Without the strips of bacon, you don't win the chips.
Is that a saying?
You should have just had it be strips. Without the strips, you don't win the ships.
All right.
Big Ben clock.
Right, exactly.
Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We hope to be joined soon.
I would love to be John Raphael.
The worst. Sorry, Vinny's got the singing voice on our show after yesterday's Empire read. We are expected to be joined by Angels broadcaster Wayne Randazzo soon to talk about the White Sox, the Angels, and he's an Illinois, Chicago guy.
Local product, a regular Nicky Lopez, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, even extending a little further than Nicky's reach of Naperville.
To get to the Tri-Cities, some people who live in the city think that you've got to, hitch up your oxen to a Conestoga wagon in order to get out to the Fox River Valley. But trust me, it's still a suburb. The Metro goes there.
Does it?
It does.
It does.
Okay. And it's like a little west, a little more west than Naperville. But we hope to be joined by St. Charles' own Wayne Randazzo in just a second. But hey, we can talk about a White Sox victory. The White Sox stomped the Angels. Not 1, but 2 homers from Andrew Benintendi. He is your leader now for the Chicago White Sox in 2024 for home runs on the team. I think congratulations are in order again for Herb and for Vinny, as you both said, I think about 2 days ago, that Benintendi would be the person to break Paul DeJong's lead. So how does it feel after that 8-4 victory last night? How does it feel to be right?
Always feels good to be right about my guy, Andrew Benintendi, who I've never questioned. I've always been on the side, had the Andrew Benintendi pom-poms cheering for the whole year. It's just amazing that this guy just turned himself into the player that the White Sox initially signed in 2023. They're just a little late, this offensive swing. Now, if he can be this guy for the remainder of his contract, that's found money. But I want him to continue to hit home runs to have somebody on somebody else's team be like, that guy has found it. And yes, 3 years for almost $50 million for that kind of player is a little rough. But you know what Andrew Benintendi does? He shows up every game. He plays every game. He's available every game. And if he's hitting 20 home runs per year and playing a mediocre to bad left field, I think most people will be like, hey, we can deal with that because he shows up and now he's hitting 20 home runs. And if he does this in the full season, he'll probably hit 25 home runs next year.
Herb's already. Do I smell another edition of the Sean Herb Andrew Benintendi home run bet?
If the over-under is 20.5, yes.
Hey, man, you might get it.
Listen, I said yesterday that, Andrew Benintendi being the team leader in home runs says a lot more about the team than it does about Andrew Benintendi. That remains true. They started this year with Luis Robert Jr., with Yoán Moncada, with Eloy Jimenez, with Andrew Vaughn. All of those guys were supposed to hit 20 or more home runs, and none of them to this point have. Andrew Vaughn is right on Andrew Benintendi's heels. He homered last night, too, as the White Sox hit 4 of them, but Vaughn's at 18. Now tied with Paul DeJong, as Benintendi has 19. But, give Benintendi some credit because everybody wanted to see more power from him. He wanted to see more power from himself. He wanted to get stronger. And here he is, 1 home run away from matching a career high. So it ain't nothing. And, if you're going to give all the credit or if you're going to point and laugh at the White Sox and say, oh, my God, how can this team have Andrew Benintendi be their home run leader? At least give Andrew Benintendi some credit for being their home run leader.
Yeah, those are words. I know the sentiment behind it, and I agree with you. Because
he's about to hit 20 home runs. He hit 5 last year.
Yes, and he's closing in on a career high. His career high is 20 in 2017. And I think your point of, it speaks more about the team is what I really want to just emphasize.
2 things can be true.
Yes. Like, I don't, as the hater, capital T, capital H, of Andrew Benintendi, it is nice to see somebody have success after it has been so just dour. Is that a word?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he was approaching -2 WAR. If you look over since 2023, he is the worst player in baseball. He has almost made himself a neutral WAR player, 0.0. I know that wouldn't be everyone's favorite
John Blutarski
finish line, but I think Benny would take it after today. So I don't know. It is surprising. I don't know what really to make of it. We'll talk about it in a second. Is our guy Wayne ready to go? You want to give it 1 second? All right. Sarah's going to say 1 second. The one thing that is interesting to me is just like what has changed with Benintendi, and mostly we've just seen a lot more pull from him. I brought this up yesterday, but we see another 2 balls pulled for home runs yesterday from Benintendi. Bat speed is new, and I am wondering if maybe it is a health thing, but bat speed is new to StatCast, and bat speed shows that his bat speed for, how many times can I say bat speed? His bat speed from the beginning of the season to July 13th was 67.9 miles per hour. At that point, he was hitting 192, 248, and slugging 292. Since then, since the 14th, he's hitting 279, 351, 552, and the bat speed numbers, again, as my computer freezes, the bat speed numbers show that Benintendi is, I think, swinging the ball harder. We have fiber internet, and it's not fast enough. A little bit harder, but it's still about 68.2 miles per hour. So it's really, I think, just timing and just making sure that he's in front of the ball and just being early rather than late, because we've seen so many like slice balls out to the left, these bloops into left field, and now he's actually striking the ball with power. So maybe it's something that can continue, but what happens if he falls out of this? Does he know the way to snap back into this, or is this just going to be maybe a dead cat bounce?
We'll see. I think that Andrew Benintendi has found something because it's done it for a good amount of time now. So we knew he wasn't as terrible as he's shown up for a year and a half with the White Sox. We knew that. He wasn't a 5 home run hitter for the 2 years that he was. Now he's showing a little bit more of who the guy he is, and that might be just a average, below average left fielder with a little pop.
But is he? Like, I mean, his best slugging percentage in a year is .465 with juiced baseballs, and particularly possibly the Red Sox cheating in 2018 with Apple Watches. Like, I mean, his slugging right now is still 400 on the year, and I don't really think just of a 552 slugging percentage is, sustainable. I hope he can. It'd be great, but realistically, like, are the White Sox looking for Benintendi to make this type of impact at this point? Like, I mean, it looks like at any point if they can trade him, they probably would. We go down Wayne. We still waiting? Okay. Let's go out to Wayne Randazzo. Angels broadcaster Wayne Randazzo of Bally Sports, and also you can hear his voice on Apple TV Plus, their MLB broadcast, the pride of St. Charles, Illinois. Welcome in, Wayne. How are you?
Or not.
Oh, okay.
Or not.
All right. Wayne is in the guest room, waiting. Green room. You guys like green rooms?
No.
You prefer a blue room?
That'd be great.
I don't know.
Boy, this is some A-plus vamping.
This is great.
there,
You should be able to hear him.
Yeah, we got it.
Hey, there we go. Hey, Wayne, how are you? The pride of St. Charles, Illinois. Again, the voice of Angels baseball on Bally Sports West, and the voice of MLB baseball on Apple TV Plus. How are you, Wayne?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Not bad. We are excited to talk to you after the power performance from the White Sox in yesterday's game. We want to know, from your view, from your standpoint, this is the worst team in baseball, but they looked pretty good last night. What have you made of the Sox this year from the outside?
Well, I mean, what can you make from it? They've been on pace to be the worst team in the history of the game, and really the worst team I think ever assembled. When you think about how it's happened here, the 1962 Mets were an expansion team of a lot of guys who were has-beens and never will be's, and piecemealing together a team in that first year after never really having undergone any expansion in Major League Baseball except for the year before when the Angels and the Washington Senators entered the league. So there wasn't really much to go on with regard to expansion at that time. And then, the 1916 A's, they kind of just let everybody go after having a good run for several years. And then, the 1899 Spiders were being picked apart by their owner, who owned another team and tried to make the other team more successful. So if you consider all the factors, I think this is the worst team in the history of the game. And if you need the number to get to 120 or 121 to make sure that's the case, it will likely happen. But as you said yesterday, they didn't look like any of that. They hit the ball well, they fielded the ball well, and they pitched pretty good too. Cannon did a nice job.
When you bring up something that we obviously have been watching for 6 months now, and we have been mired in it all day and all night for that period of time. What is a continent away and around the league? How shocking is this to folks? What is the emotional reaction to the fact that this team is doing this on the south side of Chicago?
I think nobody can really believe it, especially when you have so much parity in the league. You have so much of the same thinking. I mean, you go around the 30 teams and everybody's really trying to build their team the same way. And in that regard, you're not going to have a 100-win team this year, most likely. You're going into the playoffs without any real favorite in either league. Like, you could make a case for a few teams, but no one really jumps off the page as being the obvious champion going into the postseason. And I think as you see the parity from top to bottom, even the teams that are at the bottom usually win 55 to 65 games. And for the White Sox to be 20 wins below that threshold at this juncture in the season is shocking. I mean, how can they field a team that is so much worse than all the others is really, I think, something that takes people by surprise, because you have this team winning 20 fewer games than the Marlins or the Rockies, 25 fewer games than the Angels. I mean, it's really an unbelievable number to think about over the course of a season, that they could lose so many games, lose so often, lose 28 out of 29 at home. I mean, it just seems unrealistic that a Major League Baseball team could do that.
And Wayne, you broadcast games for the Angels, and people always bring up the point like, oh, yeah, you guys are White Sox fans, but luckily you're not Angels fans because of all the expectations with all the great players. But I stop them right there. I'm like, all the great players, because last year you got to broadcast games for Shohei Ohtani in his MVP season and Michael Nelson Trout. I mean, how is that in your young career to be already broadcasting games for future Hall of Famers?
I think anytime you catch a game that features someone that's going to be in the Hall of Fame, you get an extra bounce in your step, or even someone who's doing something historic. I don't know if Jacob deGrom is going to end up in the Hall of Fame, but in my time with the Mets, those 3 or 4 years where he was the best pitcher in baseball, there was such a different energy on the days that he pitched. And, Shohei was the same way, although you got it kind of as an everyday player with him DHing, but also on the days that he pitched and hit, there was just an extra atmosphere that day. There was just an extra buzz in the ballpark, knowing that you were going to see something that really had never been done before, and that was going to be done at an extremely high level, the way that Shohei could. Mike Trout still demands that kind of respect, although it's been tough for Trout to stay on the field. You look at Shohei's MVP caliber seasons, and Trout didn't play much in those years. They never really overlapped as MVP candidates together. The last time Trout was an MVP, Shohei was still kind of learning his way, and they still had some handcuffs on him as far as what they allowed him to do. And once those handcuffs came off, well, you didn't really have much of Trout at that point as far as his MVP days were concerned. So I think it's a little bit of a misnomer to say these two guys were together at MVP caliber and the Angels couldn't win, because they never really did play together while they were both at an MVP level.
Voice of the Angels, Wayne Randazzo, is joining us here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We will be back with Wayne in just a second, but we're going to take a break. Vinny, why don't you let us know about Leinenkugels?
Well, we're in that time of year where summer is winding down. Fall is coming around the corner. So if you want to go ahead and have both summer shandy and an Oktoberfest, that's probably the way to do it. The folks at Leinenkugel, they've got you covered for every single month of the year. And if you still want to run down to the lake and have a picnic, or run down to the ballpark and have a tailgate, you're going to need to bring some summer shandy with you, because that is just terrific. But if you're thinking about a walk in the fall colors, well, then why not stock up on some Oktoberfest, because you can do both maybe at the same time. Flavor life's simple moments with Leinenkugels, the official craft beer of the Chicago White Sox. Go to Leinie.com/CHGO to find delivery options near you. That's LEINIE.com/CHGO, or pick up Leinenkugels pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Leinenkugels, flavor the moment. Celebrate responsibly. The Jacob Leinenkugel Brewing Company, Chippewa Falls.
Yes. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite events even more easier. Game Time Picks filters off all the fluff, so you know that you're going to get incredible deals on great seats. They don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. A couple weeks ago, went to Game Time to buy tickets for Back to the Future, the musical, and of course, Game Time had the lowest prices, because with the Game Time guarantee, you find a lower price on another site in the section and row that you're sitting in. Game Time will give you 110% of that difference, just like I got in Atlanta a couple years ago. A couple other features I love about Game Time is the all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. And you get the seat views. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And with the Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Woo.
All right, thank you. We are back here with Wayne Randazzo, the voice of the Angels on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Wayne, you are a St. Charles product, and you've worked with our guy Herb at, I guess it wasn't even Odyssey at that point, right?
It was a score.
The score. But
Yeah.
Entercom. You worked your way up and through Chicago media, then were able to move over to the East Coast, do some Mets games, and now you're on the West Coast with the Angels. How would you compare Midwest baseball fans to East Coast baseball fans to now West Coast baseball fans?
I think across the board, all these fans want their teams to win. I think there's a little bit of that the West Coast fans are lackadaisical, or that they don't have as much passion. And I haven't really found that to be the case. I think if you look at the attendance numbers around the West Coast, I mean, the Dodgers and Padres are selling out almost every game. And the Angels, even with the way things have gone over the last decade, really, but especially in the last couple of years, they still have great attendance. They sold 35,000 tickets to the game last night against the White Sox, and they averaged about 38,000 over the weekend against Houston. So I think there's a lot of passion for the game out this way. Certainly, it's played a lot out here, and I think that the fans care as much. They're not going to be taking the pitchforks around quite as much as the Chicago fans, or especially the East Coast fans. There's more of a rabidness on the East Coast. There's more of a paying so they're so attentive to every detail of what's happening in a game that it makes them kind of question everything that a manager does. There isn't a lot of breathing room. And I think Chicago is always this kind of perfect balance between fans who are passionate and know the game, fans who care about the game, and also give you a little bit of slack to figure it out. I think Craig Counsell has seen that to some degree as the manager of the Cubs, although there was some expectations that he would come in and kind of know it all as a manager, and maybe he does or maybe he doesn't, but he certainly has been given some room to breathe, as I think most managers are in Chicago. Maybe La Russa was the one recent exception of a guy who didn't get a lot of slack from the fan base going into that job. But, for the most part, I think that Chicago fans want these teams to do well and allow a little more breathing room than what you see on the East Coast, and maybe a little bit less breathing room than what you see on the West Coast.
Wayne, you're a fellow Tri-Cities native. I am from Geneva. You are from St. Charles. Also a fellow former employee of the Kane County Cougars. I don't know if you can match my two-time Employee of the Month from the concession stands resume, but you had a much more exciting job during your time there. What memories do you have from your Cougars days?
Yeah, I think growing up, to some degree, growing up out that way, I went to middle school and high school in that area, and I was just the Kane County Cougars built a brand even back then of being a great family-filled entertainment source for people that didn't want to take a long drive to the city to watch a baseball game. You can get professional baseball right there in that area in Kane County, and the Cougars were, and I'm sure they still are, very committed to, being that place where families go to just hang out on a Friday night or on a weekend and take in a baseball game, or on a summer night. And I know a lot of the people that were there when I was there are still there now, and were there well before I got there. And it speaks to the kind of reputation that the organization has for employees there and for the community.
Wayne, the question I always wanted to ask you, and I know you're a professional, 20 years in the business plus, but you have a cousin who's a major league umpire, Tony Randazzo. I think he did a game for the Angels earlier in July. Like, during that game, I'm sure you're just, hey, I'm locked in, this is the game. But after the game, do you and him reminisce? Like, I know he's a little bit older than you. He's like, man, we're both at the pinnacle of our careers in Major League Baseball.
It's pretty cool. He is older than me by probably about 20 years. So he, was kind of getting on that path when I was a kid and umpiring in the minor leagues, and really was in the minor leagues for a while before he got to the big leagues. But he's been up at the major league level now for quite some time. And usually I'll go see him before the game, whenever he's doing an Angels game or even an Apple game that I happen to be doing. And, he's a great guy, and he's had a really good umpiring career. He's had some injuries and concussions and all that kind of stuff that he's had to shake off. But it is cool that I get to broadcast games and he's umpiring, and I'll usually make some comments about him throughout the game. I'll just openly refer to him as Cousin Tony or whatever when he's calling a check swing from the bases or even behind the plate. So I usually have fun with it whenever he's doing one of the games that I'm calling, and it's awesome. I mean, it's another Chicago guy that got to the major leagues and is doing what he loves to do. He actually umpired the 2016 World Series, which I don't know how that was. Major League Baseball looks into that as far as anybody's hometown is concerned, but he was behind the plate for Game 5 when the Cubs won their last game at Wrigley before going back to Cleveland, and it had to be just the moment of his life to be able to umpire World Series games at Wrigley Field.
Wayne, final question from me. There was a article about you in Barrett Sports Media about monumental moments. They recalled the Pete Alonso's 53rd homer. They recalled Albert Pujols' 700th homer that you got to call. And even in the downward side of things, I know the Angels are approaching a franchise record of loss. Do you picture the night before when something monumental is happening or going to happen or could possibly happen? Do you picture that moment before the game, or is it more within the moment you're just trying to react?
I think both. I think you have to have some understanding of what is about to happen if there is a historic moment. And, Pete Alonso breaking the rookie record was a nice moment. And there have been some other cool moments to be part of. I mean, sometimes something will happen that's potentially historic within a game that you weren't expecting, if it's a no-hit bid or something like that. But as far as Albert Pujols, I mean, that's 700 is such a gigantic number, and it's only been touched a handful of times. And I think going into that one, he needed 2 home runs going into that night. So there was a thought that hopefully he hits one, and then you kind of have some anticipation that he could hit another, not really expecting him to even hit one, let alone 2. But being ready for the moment in case it happened, I think was really important. And, I think the call came out the way that I was happy to hear and proud of, because of the preparation of going into it, knowing that this could happen and that we needed to be ready. So it was a night I'll never forget, and I'm grateful that my voice is attached to a moment like that, because who knows if anyone will ever hit 700 home runs again in our lifetime. I mean, who could say? So certainly nobody on pace for it right now. So it's a monumental moment in baseball history, and I'm just happy that I was part of it.
Wayne, I'm really proud of you, and just remember the times back at the Score, and I was like, this guy's not long for the Score. He's way too good for the Score, and to see where you've gone from New York now to L.A., and it's very good to, whenever I see you on either Angels broadcast or Apple TV, I'm like, man, I knew that guy, and he's a great broadcaster. Even saw you out in San Diego the day before Bartolo's big-time home run out there, so it's always good to talk to you, Wayne, and I really appreciate you joining us today.
I appreciate that, Herb, and the Score gave me my first big platform in my career, and it was an awesome place to be and get my feet wet and be on a station that people actually cared about what you were saying or gave you feedback, whether it was good or bad, and I think it helped me get to where I am in a big way.
Keep representing us proudly, Wayne. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Wayne.
All right, thank you guys.
Appreciate it. The Score. Any opportunity to do that, I'll take it.
It was good times back there. He left that 2014 year, and he's like, shot to the moon since.
Yeah.
Not great teams, but still.
I mean, the Mets aren't bad.
I mean, now they are.
I mean, you'd probably rather be with the Yankees, but the Mets aren't bad.
Yeah.
And I think, as Pedro Grifol said, I don't know why this has stuck with me so much, but he was like,
a pearl of wisdom.
It's tougher to get a job, I think, as a senator or as a manager than it is a senator.
By pure numbers.
By numbers wise. Yeah.
And also think about like his career. Like the Score was broadcasting the Sox at the time. He went to the Mets. Now he's on the Angels. So, 2 teams in each of those markets. He goes to the lesser of the 2 teams. So the not the big name Yankees, Cubs, or Dodgers in those markets.
That's true. Maybe you just go to a single team market.
Yeah.
And then you're the guy. But
next will be an A's or / they'll be gone. So that double market's gone too now.
Yeah, and even then too, I was on the Angels subreddit, and he seems to ingratiated himself well with the Angels crowd. It just seems like they really like Wayne for being Wayne, speaking his voice, and apparently he had voice training. So that's how you get your voice that deeper, and that's smooth. Buttery as Wayne Randazzo's voice. We're going to take a break, and we're going to let you know about some of our partners, and then we're going to rejoin you and talk about Yoán Moncada's future with the Sox. Grady Sizemore had some comments, but first, we want to let you know about our friends over at Ray CDJR. Before you hit the road this fall, head to Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram and start your adventure there. This September, shop new lower prices across their huge inventory during Jeep's Adventure Days going on now. For a limited time, lease the new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo for just $239 a month for 27 months, or shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. Let the amazing team at Ray CDJR help you during each step of your car shopping journey. With Ray's Price Promise, the numbers you're hearing now are the same prices you can expect to shop in-store and online. That's because Ray's Price Promise means no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees. And since they prioritize affordability for their customers, hurry into Ray CDJR today and shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories, then drive home with more money in your pocket than you'd expect. So if you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, because they are the only team we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com, serving the community since 1963. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Family Farms, who sponsor our Family Farms deck out there, our nice, lovely patio where we do halftime updates there for the Bears games on Sundays.
And grill stuff.
Yeah. And they grilled stuff for us once, and it was fantastic. Their culinary journey is woven with passion, dedication, and a commitment to crafting the finest bacon-wrapped chicken, a timeless delicacy that has tantalized taste buds since 1974. Join them on this flavorful adventure where every bite tells a story of tradition, quality, and the enduring spirit of Family Farms. The tradition continues. You can now find Family Farms bacon-wrapped chicken even easier. You can look for them in the meat department at your local Woodman's, Mariano's, and Burcott's. And if you're craving a taste of home without leaving yours, you could check them out at baconwrappedchicken.com or click the link for our Amazon store, which also includes the legendary Rocky Rococo's Italian sausage, and find out when our new amazing Cajun Nation flavors will become available with an authentic Louisiana bite. So experience the flavor that's become a family favorite for generations. Visit your nearest Woodman's, Mariano's, Burcott's, or on Amazon at baconwrappedchicken.com. That's a
good URL.
It is.
Baconwrappedchicken.com.
It's got my taste buds tantalized, as it read says. Let's head out to LA again. Lamont Pope of the Chicago Tribune is the one beat writer, the lone beat writer out in LA, and he was able to chat with Grady Sizemore before yesterday's game. And Sizemore said this about Yoán Moncada being back in the mix and being activated off the IL. The priority is going to be Vargas and Ramos. Try to give them as much time as I can and try to find spots for Moncada when I can. I still want to see a lot of Vargas and Ramos and try to give them as many reps as I can and keep them comfortable over there. It's going to be tough to fit everybody in, but I want the young guys to get the priority. Today's lineup does include Miguel Vargas. It does not include Brian Ramos, but also left off Yoán Moncada. What do we take from Sizemore's comments, and what do we take away from Moncada not being a part of both lineups?
Well, I mean, listen, I think while certainly White Sox fans were rooting for this type of thing, probably that was colored a little bit by the entirety of Yoán Moncada's career and the fact that he has not, because mostly of health reasons, lived up to what fans expected of him when he first came to the organization. But at the same time, this is an organization that is 100% geared toward the future, and this is quite evidence of that. I mean, for them to be giving even this little minimal playing time with in the last few games of the season here to Vargas, to Ramos, and say it's valuable for them to get this playing time as opposed to a guy who's not going to be here next year, it certainly backs up the commitment to the long-term future. And I don't think I would have been surprised had the opposite happened and they said, here's a veteran guy who gives us a chance to win every night. We're going to put him out there just for the last 12 games of the season. So, things can happen on that front, kind of honor what he's done for the team in terms of at least, working to try to be better. So, but instead, we're seeing that commitment to the future backed up with action. And I think that should give fans, I don't know if hope is the right word, but a little bit of positivity that things are 100% geared in the direction of making 2 years from now as good as it can be.
I was dead set on them playing Yoán Moncada for these last handful of games. And the fact that in the first two lineups, they don't have him in the starting lineup, it's awesome. As Vinny just said, it's like they understand that, yeah, you can be active on this roster, but we don't need to play you. The priority is for the young players to get the time. You are what is the past. And we appreciate what you've done for us. I, as a fan, Herb Lawrence, appreciate what Yoán has done for us. They're not going to re-sign him, at least not before buying him out for his contract for next year. And so his career for the White Sox is these last 11 games, him sitting on the bench, chilling out. And I hope he enjoys himself out there in L.A. and San Diego and coming back here in Chicago and enjoying it on the bench. And I'm surprised by the White Sox move and that they're actually executing this. Now, it could all go away if, somebody changes their mind. I hope it wouldn't, because Grady's put it out there to Lamont Pope and the folks out there that the priority is the kids, the young players, to see if they can do it and to have something into the offseason that they can hang their hat on. And so I hope Yoán is fine with this. I hope the player is like, okay, yeah, they're not playing me, and he understands what's going on, and that the youngsters are excited that, yes, it's veterans here, and he's talking us up, and he's giving us good clues or giving us good stuff, but also when it comes to playing time, I got priority over him these last couple games, and I'm going to take advantage of the time that I have out here.
I'm not frustrated that he's not played. It seems like the organization was already frustrated with him, so the fact that he's, being activated, I think is just more, I don't know, run-of-the-mill is not the word I'm looking for, but just
procedural.
Procedural, thank you. Procedural. I think what's more frustrating is just the fact that Ramos and Vargas aren't in the lineup tonight together. I know Vargas is, but I don't know. Maybe just give Vaughn the complete day off, have Vargas play DH and Ramos at third, and just have Vargas and Ramos switch off at third. If you were going to say my commitment is to Ramos and Vargas, and I understand they played last night, both of them did, I just kind of want to see more Ramos. I know Ramos played 6 straight games, and then I think he played on Monday, so I think he's played in 7 straight games, and now he's getting a day off, so I can't complain too much. They've been fairly consistent with him since he's been recalled, but I mean, you got 11 games left. Let's give Ramos 11 opportunities, is my thought.
Well, and I would just say, though, that just to clarify, giving the priority to Vargas and Ramos means over Moncada, means at third base, right? So I think you could make a very good argument if you're the White Sox that you'd like Andrew Vaughn to have 11 games of playing time too, to try and get as good a spot as he can heading into the offseason. I know you're not as fond of Gavin Sheets, but I mean, he's a guy that falls into that category as well as someone who could be here next year and have some sort of impact, whether that's as a mid-season trade piece or something for the future. Yoán Moncada will not have that impact because he is not going to be on this team.
Yeah, and I know that you don't like Gavin Sheets playing, but as I told you, he's coming back, Sean.
Yeah, no,
you're gonna be sad.
I agree with that.
You're gonna be sad when he does come back.
I'm fine with him playing first base. If he was out in right field, I think that would be, that would probably upset me more than him playing at first base. It's just I said, I don't need to see Vaughn. And I understand Vaughn just had a homer and a triple, but doesn't matter that they're hot and they're not trying to win games. I think getting Ramos those at bats is probably most important.
But would you sit him down after what he's been doing the last 11 games, Andrew Vaughn?
They have 115 losses.
I understand that.
And wasn't this the person yesterday on the show, or at least Sunday, saying I don't care about his 394 average in the past 8 games?
I don't. So they do. They okay, that man is finally doing what we thought he could do, and he's hotter than hell. Might as well keep him out there, keep his bat out there. And I think it was a lefty on the bump yesterday versus the Angels, so they were more than willing to have him play first base instead of Gavin, and having those at-bats by Brian Ramos be from the designated hitter spot. So, yeah, I'm just telling you what they think. And if I were the player, I'm like, why are you sitting me? I'm on a heater right now. Don't sit me ever. But definitely don't sit me when I'm crushing the ball and I got a triple? Word? Me? Andrew Vaughn? I ain't sitting a damn place. I'll put my name in the lineup myself.
Yeah,
a triple. Sean.
Yeah, he did all the hard things. He got a homer, a triple, and then just went cold.
You see, Jackie Crystal had wrote that's an Andrew Vaughn triple, just a bit short.
That was Jackie Crystal.
Jackie on White Sox Twitter.
Oh, no,
you see her sometimes in the chat.
No, I know. Oh, Crystal. You were saying her last.
I don't know.
I thought you. Anyways.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was going to just say that why would the White Sox value this playing time for Brian Ramos over for Andrew Vaughn? That I think they think that Vaughn can still be something, and so I don't think 11 or however many, if you want to go back to yesterday, 12 games for Brian Ramos is necessarily more obvious than 12 games for Andrew Vaughn if you had to pick. If you're the White Sox, obviously fan base is going to have a different opinion maybe, but if you're the White Sox, I think that those things are probably equally valuable, if not even more so for Vaughn, who they might want to trade this offseason or something like that.
And think about the White Sox brass. They're like, we have very few actual Major League Baseball players on this team, and Vaughn is one of them. So he's going to get the playing time. We don't know if Brian Ramos is one of them, and I can see your point. Let's see. in those last couple games, but I don't think you would necessarily see if he is one by playing these games. I'm a fan of him playing, and over Gavin Sheets 100%, but Andrew Vaughn, like if you're counting actual Major League Baseball players that might come back, they got like 3, and he's one of them.
And also, too, I mean, Vargas, we've seen him play different positions. We haven't seen him, with the Dodgers, we've seen him play different positions. I don't really need to see Lenin Sosa at second base. I mean, I'd love to see if Vargas does have flexibility, play him at second base and see Ramos at third. But I digress. The point is, Ramos and Vargas are going to be getting the playing time over Moncada, and we've seen that over the first 2 games. Lopez is your leadoff hitter tonight. Roberts batting second in center field. Benintendi's batting third in left field. Batting fourth is Vaughn at DH. Batting fifth is Sheets at first base. Sixth is Lenin Sosa at second base. Batting seventh, Dominic Fletcher in right field. Batting eighth, Corey Lee at catcher. And batting ninth at third is Miguel Vargas. Davis Martin is on the bump. Am I crazy to think that the White Sox can win 4 straight?
No, you're not, because the Angels have lost the last 6, and I think 7 of the last 8 games, while the White Sox are hotter than hell. So, yes, I think the White Sox have a chance. They have one of their more impressive starters going to the bump with last night's Jonathan Cannon doing what he did. Man, he looked really nice. And then tonight, you got Davis Martin, who I have confidence that he's going to go out to Anaheim and do some work tonight. So, yeah, I have the White Sox winning tonight.
Hotter than hell.
Hotter than hell.
3 games in a row.
If they win tonight, they'll be like, that's a season high, right? Or tied
it
for
would match
a
season high, yes.
They've won 4 straight?
They have.
Was the sweep and then 1?
Yeah.
Okay. So, hey, I mean, but that's 8 wins.
I think it was a 2-2. It was the Tampa Bay. It was the at Tampa Bay, because they swept Tampa Bay at home. But the 4-game win streak started with the down in St. Petersburg, Florida.
They have 5 wins against Tampa.
Yes,
that's crazy.
I think.
Maybe wrap that franchise up.
Or no, it's 1-3. They followed it up with a 4-game series. I just know that it did not involve a sweep. So they won the last game of a series against Tampa Bay, then they won the first 3 games of a 4-game series against Cleveland.
Correct.
Yes.
The 8th of May to the 11th of May. So when they were 12-28, what a time.
Man.
I think that Martin has been obviously such a revelation, but you just see how truly bad the Angels are. And it seems like they're getting worse and worse as the season comes to an end. I know that Jeff Passan just put out an article, and he kind of talked about the state of the clubhouse. You've mentioned this as well before.
The White Sox.
The White Sox clubhouse. Yes. Yeah. That, it seems like, even though they are the worst team by record, you wouldn't really be able to tell from the clubhouse, because guys seem to be fairly excited to come to work because they have the opportunity to be a part of a major league team. The Angels seem like they're running out of steam, though. Is this really just where that clubhouse comes through? Is that it's not even about, being talented. It's just the White Sox have a little bit more strength. And the fact that Pedro's not here, I think Jeff mentioned that Grady Sizemore is a little bit more of a nurturing manager. Is this where, the strength of their legs finally comes in and they're racing to the finish line past the Angels?
I don't know about that. I mean,
I think they might sweep them.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe they will. I think
maybe I'm drinking too much.
Listen, I think that you're right to point out that the Angels are a woeful team. I think when us who have been following the White Sox all year long hear Wayne say that, wow, the White Sox have 25 games, 25 fewer wins than the Angels, and we go, wow, only 25, right? I mean, I think that probably speaks maybe to what we've been conditioned to think of, but also, look, hey, the Angels are regular bad. They're not special bad like the White Sox are this year, but they are regular bad, and so if there ever was going to be an opportunity, I guess it would be that, but we've also spent all year talking about how the White Sox are not favored any night, right? And so playing better baseball, even if it is over a very small sample size of 3 days, that's helpful. And like I said, I don't think that I think to answer your question, no, which is the point of bringing it up in the first place, right? The idea that these White Sox have been consistent throughout the entire year in terms of what that clubhouse is like and what their mindsets are. It, to me, says that nothing has changed, right? It's not like they have been rah-rahed into all of a sudden winning games. They have won a few games now, and it is maybe a payoff that a lesser clubhouse would not have been able to get at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But if you were to say that this caliber of roster in terms of baseball playing, then also had a lesser clubhouse, maybe we would all be already past the Cleveland Spiders mark at this point, right? So I guess you can bring it up whichever way you want it to. But I think the main point is that this clubhouse has been basically consistent and basically this way from start to finish, even as the results have been something that would normally or you would think wear on a group of people.
And as you've told us all year long, Vinny, by your reports in the clubhouse and what the White Sox have said, clubhouse is better. It's been
much better.
It's been that way for this year
on purpose.
And I'm, always that process of results, guys. So the results have been poor, but they're trying to establish culture out there in the White Sox clubhouse. And from every article you see, that's what the White Sox are selling. Our culture is good here. Yes, the wins are not there, but I can only think and surmise that Grady, as the manager, is telling these players, and I remember a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, they're just lifeless. So, like, do they care about the actual wins and how they're playing and how they're representing themselves? These last couple games with the actual results of winning, I can see that they care about what they're doing, and they don't need to look any further than their manager, who had all the talent in the world, was great at baseball, but his career got cut short because of injuries. And I'm sure he's pressed this to the guys, like, man, yes, this is a sucky season. It's horrible, but you're playing baseball, and you only have a couple days of this during the year. You have 160 opportunities to play baseball. What I would give to play baseball again, like you guys have the opportunity, good, bad, indifferent, would be invaluable to me. So I'm sure that Grady is pressed upon them, like, playing baseball is a gift, and you guys get to do it even if it is the worst team in baseball history. You still get to play and go out and put your best foot forward. Don't give up any at-bats. Don't, just think, I want to get to Cancun. I'm playing baseball for these last 11 games, and I'm going to go and put my best foot forward.
Who would play a better left field, Andrew Benintendi right now or 42-year-old Grady Sizemore?
I'm not going to put anything past Grady Sizemore, though I believe we did jokingly ask him about him, not comparing him to his current players, but if he could still go out there and play. And I think he said something, he joked something along the lines of, like, I'd be able to get under a fly ball, but once it came to, like, running, that would be a problem.
Who would be able to strike a ball more effectively, Dominic Fletcher or Grady Sizemore? 42-year-old Grady
Sizemore was the stuff, man.
I mean, he doesn't look out of shape.
Not at all.
Looks like Grady Sizemore.
It's a good-looking cat, too.
I don't know. All right. My other question for you guys. Let's say Davis Martin goes out there and shoves against a pretty bad Angels lineup. Mm-hmm. The White Sox have a 4-game win streak. Does Garrett Crochet start tomorrow? It's currently not listed.
He is the probable starter for Friday in San Diego.
But why? Because he last pitched on Friday,
because
right?
That's what the White Sox are doing.
No, I know, but I guess I'm just wondering, why though? I mean, because was there anything said specifically to?
If I had to guess, it lines him up to start the last home game of the season.
Mm. Okay,
and also probably premium rest too. That off day in between.
Yeah,
another
2 days instead of one.
But also, I mean, who would you rather face, the Angels or the Padres?
I mean, yeah.
And would you rather maybe send him out on a high of, hey, let's go secure our 5th win? You're going up against a worse lineup, especially kind of struggling in his last couple of starts against the Red Sox, not really against the A's, but
what do you get beating bums?
Wouldn't have many wins.
He's not getting a win. He's not going 5 innings.
What enjoyment does he get
from
beating
are really
bums?
Bad.
I think steel sharpens steel, iron sharpens iron. He would love to go against the Padres in their vaunted lineup and shut him down for the time that he's in there.
Yeah, I think what's most important is if the White Sox win tonight, that's the 37th win of the year. The White Sox in 2020 won 36. So we were just looking to be better than the 60-game season. So fingers crossed.
You just got to win 7 of the last 11.
Yes.
To avoid the worst.
Our guy Benintendi has been hot. Your man's Andrew Benintendi has been hotter than ever. When you look at this is on-base percentage. Let me sort by slugging percent OPS. This is Andrew Benintendi's. I think. Hold on. This is Andrew Benintendi's.
You know what I get by this between earlier in the show and now And you have bashed Andrew Benintendi so often that the internet is now preventing you from looking at his stats.
It really is.
He's like, he's good, Sean.
Well, it's weird because
the internet's like, that's enough.
Like, we love Vinny.
His mom actually runs a stat ad. This is one of Benintendi's best 50-game stretches of his career. I think it's a top 30 stretch of his career. Mostly it's come with Boston, but he is reeling back the clock. Is there any trade value in Benintendi? You proposed the question, Herb, so I think you must have thoughts.
Yeah, I think that people could see this sample size, especially on a bad team, a historically bad team, and say, yeah, he's had a bad 2 years with the White Sox, but this stretch tells me that the player doesn't give up, and the player shows up every day and posts. That is very valuable to Major League Baseball teams. And maybe he's not given an everyday left fielder job on some other team, but I'm sure 3 years, $50 million left on his contract is a little much for a team to trade for. The White Sox take back slight amount of money, and for a better prospect getting back for Andrew Benintendi, I'm sure some team would be like, yeah, that will work for, less than $15 million a year. And if he's going to hit close to 20 home runs a year and play a all right left field, yeah, I think some team will look for him if the White Sox take some of that money off of it.
I think if he were going into free agency, a lot of the stuff that you said would make a lot of sense. Not that it was nonsense, but just it would make more sense. We'll put it that way. But I think when it comes down to the White Sox trying to make a trade for a guy on that contract, it all comes down to the deal. It all comes down to what that contract is, and it all comes down to what another team would have to give up in return. If they're giving up salary relief, maybe that is something, right? Because maybe they do think they can pay for a little bit more of that contract than they would otherwise have to, but they get a guy who's coming off of a thing. I don't know. It's still a lot of money, and as I pointed out yesterday, a lot of time commitment as well. You're not going out and signing a fourth outfielder for one run at a pennant. You're trading for a guy who has 3 years on that contract remaining, who you're going to have to keep for 3 years. In addition to paying him the even for a guy who's had a hot run here, more than the market would give him had he be hitting it as a free agent. You throw in maybe the idea of a prospect going back to the White Sox. If the White Sox were to eat a lot of that salary, then again, how good is that prospect going to be? And does another team even want to give up a prospect for Andrew Benintendi? So I think the player and what he's doing right now in a vacuum, sure, I think there'd be interest. But I think everything's about the contract, the market, the kind of trade that would be discussed. I think that kind of stuff in Benintendi's case weighs way heavier than what he's doing here in the second half of the season.
And I think just to hammer it home, because there have been some positive reaction from fans about his play in the second half, but I feel like it's gone past positive at this point. It's like, well, now, hey, if he's this good, why don't you keep him? And it's like, well, because he's 30. And I know, as people who are over 30, that might be a little offensive. I didn't mean that slanderous.
I don't play baseball.
I'm very offended.
But it just doesn't fit the timeline of this team. And when you went and signed him in 2023, we're committing $75 million to him.
And it was an entirely the organization was in an entirely different place.
Right. So I don't understand the idea of why the White Sox wouldn't be able to or wouldn't want to eat money. Bob reported at the trade deadline, the White Sox are openly shopping outfielder Andrew Benintendi, still owed nearly $50 million. I don't think they're shopping him for salary relief. I think they're looking to shop him to open up a position, right? To open up playing time day in and day out.
Yeah, you've got to think about what the White Sox would get, not necessarily even in return for a trade, but what are they getting by trading Andrew Benintendi, right? And because they don't need him to help them win games next year, so I would think that they would be looking for salary relief, especially because of what we've heard about everything and seen with everything the White Sox are doing with their other player movement, right? Last year's moves were all about bringing in low salary guys, and this year we've already got reports that they want the salary to reduce further. You're going to see Yoán Moncada go and get rid of a lot of salary. You might see Luis Robert Jr. get traded to get rid of a lot of salary. Andrew Benintendi, if they could get rid of that salary, to me that would be the biggest priority in a deal involving him this winter.
And remember, it's $17 million, Teoscar Hernandez, who just won the home run derby and signed with the Dodgers this offseason, signed for like $23.5 million. So is he a player that is good enough or as good as Teoscar Hernandez? No. Or, Michael Conforto is also a free agent, Bellinger, Soto, et cetera. There's a lot of free agents. What would he get on the open market? I don't think it's $17 million. No. And you look at Eric Fedde, who was performing well with the White Sox, who we thought was on a cheap deal at the deadline. They still ate money. The Cardinals only paying him $2.5 million. The White Sox, obviously, he played for some of that and got paid for some of that money, but the White Sox ate some of the money when sending him to St. Louis.
Was it just where they were in the calendar, though, or because it was 7.5, right?
Yeah, it was 7.5. Yeah. So the White Sox retained $4.9 million.
Well, but they could have.
But I think there was a part of it that they.
Because you're already 2/3 of the way into the season when they trade him.
I'm pretty sure it was reported that it was salary, so let me just make sure.
That makes it even worse.
Well, that's the thing. It's like that was a guy that was like a 3F war. So, like, is this even enough of a jump for a team to eat some of that? Like, if it's $50 million remaining, are the White Sox going to pay 45 of that? And will a team even take $5 million?
But that's something,
right?
Even that's something, right? Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. I mean, at that point, I would just rather keep the player.
Why?
Because you're paying most of his salary to play on to play on somebody else's team. I'll be willing to pay half of the salary remaining to $25 million around there, but not $45 million of the 50 left. No, might as well keep that player in your team and try again next trade deadline. So there's less time commitment and less money commitment available for a team that's going to be trading. If he's going to be close to this player, then some team's going to be coming next year because it's a little more sustained offensive output.
My bad to cut you off. I think what I was confusing was not the Cardinals. I think you're right that the White Sox have just paid that much to Fedde at that point in the season. I think what I was thinking of is Dan Hayes' reporting at the deadline of the Twins' interest in Fedde, and I think that the idea was for the Twins to acquire him, they would have had to pay the salary.
Because that is a team under some strict financial
because the Bally
stuff at the moment too. Yeah.
Not RSO. What is it?
RSN.
Yeah, my bad. So I think it could be possible, but I think it's just the White Sox need to eat like 90 to 95% of that salary for it to happen. But I think they should do whatever it takes because, again, that money's going to be paid, right? You knew back in 2025 you were going to give him $75 million. So I think the position is much more valuably open because that way you could probably see a lineup with Brian Ramos and Miguel Vargas. We heard about Ramos possibly moving to the outfield. You're going to need him to test out a position. I don't want Dominic Fletcher to not get a position. So, hey, put Dom in right, Ramos in left, Vargas at third base, and Benintendi could be somewhere else. It's great. That's Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. Man in the middle is Herb Lawrence, our CHGO White Sox community leader. We want to thank Wayne Randazzo for joining our show, and thank you to Herb for booking him. I'm Sean Anderson, host of the CHGO White Sox Podcast. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Make sure to subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We'll be back tomorrow for a post-game of the series finale of the Angels-Sox series. Talk to you then.
We all silly like the mayor.